Hello and welcome to Almost 30 podcast. My name is Krista Williams and I am almost 30 on the other side, almost 40 at this point. I'm some age between 30 and 40, and I'm your host today. At Almost 30, it is a duo. It is myself and my best friend, Lindsay Simsick. We've been doing this since 2016, before podcasting was cool. And we've grown the show over the years. We've created a community and brand, and we like to do solo episodes where we have deep dive conversations on things we've been learning, things we've been processing, and oftentimes things that we want to teach. And today's episode is going to be a solo episode, a conversation with me, Krista, your host, about social media as shadow work, and how we can use and see social media as this really beautiful portal, sometimes painful portal, sometimes painful opportunity for shadow work. Before I get into shadow work, what inspired this episode? What inspired this conversation? Well, let me tell you guys, it's the AI girls. If you follow me on Instagram at It's Krista, you've probably seen my videos where I've been talking about these AI girls that have like flooded Instagram. So there's these women that are computer generated. They're these like stunningly beautiful, insanely perfect girls in podcast studios that are like spitting these quotes. Okay. So one day I'm just chilling at the house. I stop my scroll to see this really beautiful, blonde, perfect skin, tan woman, da-da-da-da. And she's like, God will not put you in a room you were not meant to go into. And I was like, yeah, I've heard that before, but I was like, that's pretty good. And I was like, she's so beautiful. Go to her page. And I'm like, oh, she's AI. And I just feel myself getting triggered. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? What is it about this computer generated girlina that has just bothered me? Why am I getting the ick here on this AI girl? And when I dug a little bit deeper, when I looked a little bit further, when I kind of peeled the layers back, I had to realize that I was triggered because I realized that this AI girl was setting this standard for beauty that I never felt like I could attain. I never felt like I could be that beautiful, that like perfect with like the perfect features, perfect balance, perfect ratio, like ambiguous race, da-da-da-da-da-da. And also I couldn't put out 80 pieces of content a day. So I felt myself feeling like, okay, I'm never going to be prettier than this AI girl, and I'm never going to be able to put out this much content all the time. And then it also triggered that third part of me that's like, the platitudes sell. Everyone wants the basic blah quotes. Everyone wants boring inspiration. Everyone wants to be told everything happens for a reason. If it's meant to be, it'll be. If he wanted to, he would. And there's something about my deeply, deep soul that just cringes at the thought of that type of content. And so it just hit on all these points for me of feeling like I'm never doing enough on social media, feeling like I'm never pretty enough, and also feeling like everyone just wants shallow stuff. And it really got me thinking about how social media is just increasing in its prevalence and its influence on our lives. I've noticed that so many of the conversations that I have with my friends or people in my life are based on other people's social media. That might just be my world because I'm in Los Angeles and I'm in the social media space, but I do feel like it's kind of prevalent where a lot of people are often talking about not other people, but about their personas. Oh, did you see what she posted? Or, oh, did you see what they were doing? Or, oh, she seems so this, or, oh, he seems so that, or, oh, they were talking about this, or they liked this, or they didn't like this. And we've really now sort of slipped into the virtual reality world of social media. And now we're kind of living in this space where so much of our lives are just a part of social media. And for many people that are listening to this podcast and for many people that are in my community, social media is also going to be the place that's going to trigger you because you are meant to be seen. You are meant to grow. You are meant to be visible, and you are made for more. Social media can be one of your deep teachers in your life. Social media will surface what you care about. It will surface what you crave, what you fear, what you judge, what you suppress. And it really doesn't create shadow oftentimes. It really reveals where our shadows are. And if we were to deep dive into this, I kind of broke this down into segments so that we could kind of understand, because we can get a little complex. We're talking in nuance, and I love to organize as a Capricorn stellium, Virgo rising. So the first part of this we'll call the mirror effect, because social media really will show you what you want to be perceived as, what you overthink, and the identity you want people to perceive you in, and what you want people to comment about you or validate about you. So when we go to post or create on social media, we are usually putting on our persona. We're like, I want to be seen as beautiful, as smart, as funny, as intelligent, as approachable, as powerful, as all of these things. Like you're like, okay, I'm ready. This is how I want the world to perceive me. For many people that are excited about creating more visibility or want to be more seen and heard or want to put themselves out there, they might be thinking that they want to be seen in general. They want to be perceived. They want to be accepted. They want to be loved. In the space of social media, for me, I noticed how I want to be perceived is powerful, clear, and beautiful. And it's not like I'm like so excited to be telling you guys this. And the powerful and clear is fine, but the beauty thing is like not my favorite. And I've really been working on it. And it's such a hard one. But for a lot of my life, I've realized that like there's an element of me that will only allow myself to be seen if I think I'm beautiful first. So the first thing that has to be in the room is beauty. And then from there, we're good to go. So if I don't look beautiful, and even that's makeup or not, then I'm like, there's no even point. Even if I have something fire to say, powerful to say, deep to say, if beauty is not in the room, honey, we are not even going there. And for you, that could be the same. It could be skin, it could be weight, it could be puffiness under your eyes, it could be your hair, it could be whatever you want about your physical appearance. But for a lot of women, they stop themselves because they need beauty or aesthetics in the room first before they share. So this is one of the really big traps for women, being more seen and heard and being more visible. And there's actually data and research that talks about how 82% of women have held themselves back from sharing who they are and from putting themselves out there because their perceived rejection about their looks. So they perceive they will be rejected or judged about their looks, so they don't put themselves out there. So many women that I know, and this is a lot of the work that I do in Metamorphosis, are holding themselves back from putting themselves out there, from being who they are in this world, because they think other people will judge them. And so they make sure before posting that they are perceived as something. They will overthink it. They will scrutinize it. They will pressure it. They will, force feed it, and they will really overthink certain aspects of it. And I do that myself. And so it can be a helpful exercise even in our process here. You can think about, okay, if I was to post online, if I was to put myself out there, if I was to be more visible, what would I want the world to perceive me as? And if social media maybe isn't your thing, you can think about, if I was to walk into a room of people and I was to meet all new people, how would I want them to see me? Do I want them to see me as warm, as kind, as nice, as interesting, as cool? What is the way that you want to be perceived? How is that helpful for you? And how is that holding you back? Like for me, as an example, my desire to be perceived as clear, and clear in speech, clear in mind, clear in thought, is like good, but it's also something that can hold you back from being just free flowing, just speaking your mind, just allowing yourself to be. And so for the most part, our desire to be perceived in a certain way limits us in so many different ways because it lets go of the authenticity of who we are. When we think about how we want people to engage with us, or how we want them to comment about us, or how we want to be validated, that's also an indicator of some of the ways in which social media can be a mirror. Maybe you want people to comment on your hair, maybe your outfit, maybe your location, maybe your relationship. For so many of us, we have this desire to be seen in a certain way. We have this desire to be perceived in a certain way. We have this desire to be validated in these certain ways. And oftentimes that's the little girl in us. That's the smaller part of us that's really just desperate for us to come off in this certain way. Social media will also show you as a mirror what you're afraid people think about you. Social media will also show you what you're afraid other people will think about you. And oftentimes this criticism that you anticipate from other people is usually your own inner critic projected outward. So say you're afraid of being perceived as being old. Maybe you're afraid of like being caught that you're older than 22 and you're afraid of being seen as old. You could have this perception that you're afraid of other people judging you for your age, when actuality, you might be looking on Instagram at other people thinking, oh, they're old. They should be married by now. They should have kids. So oftentimes the bigger critic rather than people outside of us is the person inside of us. There's no bigger critic than the ones we are to ourselves. And social media will really mirror to us and show to us how we judge others and how we judge ourselves. So thinking about it as an experiment, if you want, for the next couple of days, maybe the next week. If you were to be posting online, or if you were to even analyze your page, how do you want to be perceived? What is it that you want people to know about you? I love to travel. I'm smart. I'm rich. I'm cool. I'm interesting. What is it that you're so desperate for people to know? And in that process of you wanting people to know something about you, what is it that you're hiding? What is it that you don't want people to know? Maybe there's a vulnerability there. Maybe there's a fear there. Maybe there's a hiding. Maybe you don't want them to see your spiritual self, your mystical self, your deep self. Because what you judge in others, maybe it's the girl that tries too hard. Maybe you're like, she is trying so hard. Maybe it's the coach online that's like, oh my God, so loud, obnoxious, doing the most, posting so much. Maybe it's someone that's like, ugh, it's like just too sexual, like too much skin. Maybe it's the entrepreneur who's just showing off. Maybe it's, she's got too much money. She's just showing off at this point. All of these projections that we have about people, all of these judgments that we have about people are oftentimes showing us our desires and showing us how we judge ourselves. So for the woman who's trying too hard, maybe we have the actual desire to put ourselves out there more. And she's just actually doing it. Or maybe the woman who is showing off her body. Maybe it's that you want to feel better in your body. I know there was a post that I did a while ago where I was like in my kind of sexy vibe. It was more skin that I'd normally show. And I was with a friend and I showed her, I was like, should I post this? It's kind of like risque. And she's like, don't post that. She's like, who cares? If I see a body like that, I'm like, ugh. And like had some judgments about me posting that post. And, I'm like processed enough to be like, oh, that's not about me. I posted it anyways. But it's interesting because if I was listening to her, I would have felt shame about something that's natural to me, which is my body, and something that is okay because it's my body. It's not inherently sexual or not. And I feel good about the way that I look, and I don't see myself as trying. I just see myself as someone having a body. And so if we really would take everyone else's opinion and perspective, we're never going to post anything. We're never going to put ourselves out there. We're never going to be who we are. And we also have to recognize the ways in which we're doing that to other people. Oh, she's too direct. She's too confident. She's, not educated. She's doing all these things. And really noticing where we judge and criticize so many other people. And there's so much access to information right now on judging and criticizing other people that it can make it really easy for us to live in this place of constant judgment, constant criticism. And that's not a good place to be. Thinking about how social media gives you the opportunity at any moment and at any second, just scrolling, judgment, 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 judgment. That's a messy screen. Oh my God, she's ugly. She's really beautiful. She must be dumb. Like each scroll gives you an opportunity to look at how you see the world, how you judge yourself, and how you judge others.
We talk a lot on this show about wellness, but one thing people don't always think about is the cookware we use every day and how that's connected to your wellness. A lot of traditional nonstick cookware still contains forever chemicals like PFAS, which can actually leach into food and the environment. Our place is changing that with non-toxic, high-performance kitchenware that's designed to make cooking easier and safer. Their 4-piece cookware set is amazing because it replaces a whole cabinet full of pots and pans with just 4 pieces. You are going to be obsessed. It has 2 always pans and 2 perfect pots in mini and full sizes. You could sear, saute, fry, steam, boil, bake with them. It is phenomenal. I use them every single day, and the nonstick performance is incredible. Everything just slides right out, and cleanup is just amazing. I'm about easy cleanup. They also make the Wonder Oven, which I have been talking about on Instagram. It's a non-toxic air fryer and oven in one that makes quick meals at home so much simpler. I'm obsessed. I air fry, I bake, I reheat, I defrost. It is phenomenal and looks so cute in our kitchen. Our place is having their biggest sale of the season right now. Save up to 40% site-wide. 40%. Did you hear that? Site-wide. Now through April 12th. Head to FromOurPlace.com/almost30 to see why more than 1 million people have made the switch to Our Place kitchenware. And with their 100-day risk-free trial and free returns, you can shop with total confidence. Shop Our Place's best sale of the season. Go to FromOurPlace.com/almost30. Okay, if I know there are going to be photos or it's a big night, I'm going straight to Revolve. Your girl doesn't go out that much anymore, so when I do, I want to look good. It's where I go when I don't want to overthink my outfit. Everything feels curated, not chaotic. It's so easy. So I'll find one piece and then Revolve shows me similar styles, different cuts, different colors, different outfits, and they just always fit the vibe. I love going to their curated edits because I can just get served what I'm needing, like date night or fall vibes or spring vibes. It's great. I actually wore this really chic dress from their new Revolve LA label to dinner recently. I loved it. My husband loved it. The silhouettes are strong and modern. They're very polished, very confident. It's the kind of thing you wear when you want to look expensive without trying too hard. You know what I mean? Plus, they carry all the brands I already love, new arrivals, drops daily. And if I order a few options, the shipping is so fast. This is one of the best things about Revolve. It's like 2 days. It's crazy. And returns are also incredibly easy. Their customer service is phenomenal. And whether it's a big night out, a wedding, a trip, or you just need something last minute that actually works, Revolve always has it. I'm actually wearing a blazer from Anina Bing that I got in Revolve. I love it. It's classic. It's timeless. It's the best. But you can go to revolve.com/almost30 to shop our favorites and use code A30pod for 15% off your first order. And definitely check out the new Revolve LA label while you're there. Fast shipping, easy returns. It just makes everything easier. That's revolve.com/almost30. You can shop our favorites and get 15% off your first order with code A30pod. Offer available for a limited time, so don't miss out.
Every strong reaction can be a point for data to where you have the opportunity for shadow work. So going deeper on what shadow work is, I think a lot of you understand what shadow work is from listening to this podcast over the years and talking about it. But shadow work comes from Carl Jung. Carl Jung is, just such a brilliant mind and someone that so many of us reference so much from. Carl Jung was the one that talked about introverts and extroverts, so much archetypal work. So much of what we talk about in psychotherapy and therapy today is from Carl Jung. Carl Jung says that the shadow is the part of us that we disown. So it's the traits, the emotions, the impulses we learned were unsafe, unacceptable, or unlovable. So for many of us, we could learn that it is unacceptable to be fat. And the reason why I say this one in particular is because I work with hundreds of women on helping them love and accept their bodies. And for so many women, their belief that they are unlovable, unacceptable, and undesirable because they are fat or because they are not in a body that is accepted by society is so massive. And oftentimes we put that part in the shadow. So this trait of us, an imperfect body, gets in the shadow. Maybe the desire for connection to a body we love, the desire to feel safe and at home in our body, the desire to feel sexy, the desire to feel beautiful. Maybe it's an impulse of wanting to feel loved. Maybe it's an impulse of wanting to feel connected. And we just stuff it in the shadow. And then we go on the internet and we start to look at other women's bodies and we judge them. We criticize them. Maybe we desire them. Maybe we pedestal them for having a thin body or having a body that we want. And in this, we really disowned the little girl that was told she was unlovable because she didn't have a perfect body. And that little girl is oftentimes running the show for us on social media. So she's stepping forward and she's like, oh my gosh, unconsciously, she's stepping forward and she's like, oh my gosh, this woman's better than me because she's thin. This woman's worse than me because she's not. She has what I want. I'm going to watch this video because I secretly want to lose weight. I'm going to, like this thing because I'm going to like this body positive thing because I secretly want to love my body. It is just running the show in a way that's completely unconscious. It's not always just dark stuff. Things in the shadow aren't always dark. It's not just anger. It's not just jealousy. It's also the bright stuff. It could also be your ambition. It could also be your sensuality. It could be your power. It could be your desire. The shadow is simply what you pushed away about you to stay safe. So I know so many of you want to be more visible, you want to be more expressed, you want to be more seen, and you want to be more heard. And I know that you have pushed away this deep desire to be seen and to be heard because you're afraid that you will not be safe if you are seen. You will not be safe if you are heard. You will not be safe if you are visible. And so you just push it away and you say, oh my God, she's too visible. She's too seen. She's too heard. Ugh, I hate that she's doing that. Ugh. Oh my God, she has so many followers. Ugh, she must sell her soul. Ugh, influencers. Gosh, you guys, the influencer shadow is so crazy. The influencer shadow actually is a great example. When people look at influencers, they're like, yeah, it must be easy for them. Their life is so privileged. They are all about their looks, this judgment of influencers, because it's this archetype of a person, usually thin, usually white, usually privileged. And I'm not denying any of that. And there's a perception that makes everything really easy and that makes everything handed to them. Again, with some of this, there's not all lies there. And there's also so much hate, so much judgment, so much criticism because people want to be beautiful. They want to have it easy. They want to have all of the things they're perceiving influencers have. Oh, they're really beautiful. Things come really easy to them and life is easy. I hate them. It's not even like they hate them. They hate the fact their life is easy. Things come to them easy and they're really beautiful. I want that too. We all want that. So we have shadow about that process. So the shadow is simply what you've pushed away to stay safe. For me, I pushed away, I would say on social media, I don't really know how to bring it through, but sometimes my humor, I kind of push away because my humor is very in the moment and sometimes inappropriate. And so I don't necessarily know where to place it on the internet or on social media. So I kind of just keep it a little bit tucked away from all my friends and everyone that I meet because it's not necessarily safe to say what I truly feel online. So I've kind of pushed it back in my shadow. And at this point, I'm really I'm inspired by people that are funny online. But there was probably definitely a point where I was like, oh my God, she thinks she's so funny, because I wanted to be more in comedy, in humor, in that expression. So for you can think about at this point, in our process, you can think about what you have pushed away about yourself to be safe. For a lot of you, I know it's not only your desire to be seen or heard, to be more expressed, but it's also your desire to be very spiritual. So many of you are deeply spiritual, deeply mystical, deeply in touch, and you guys are pushing that away and hiding that and keeping it hidden and only bringing it out to the coven or, with your cards every night. And you want to be more visible in your spirituality and in your mystical expression. And that is one where you are doing that to keep you safe in this lifetime and other lifetimes. So there is the aspect of social media that will also bring up past lifetime trauma, past lifetime issues. If you were a witch burned at the stake, if you were someone that had, people turned on you, people betrayed on you, it won't just be in this lifetime that you are being activated. There's been times in my process where I've had things come up online where I'm like, ooh, this is this lifetime, but there's something else here that's funky about a past lifetime, whether it was someone that said something, someone that did something that I did. There can be actual ancestral and past lifetime healing that can also happen online because things can happen that are brought to the surface that can reflect some of the energetics of that process. So the reason why we do shadow work is to become more whole, to become more magnetic, and to become more of ourselves. Shadow work is such a process to your deepest self-love, deepest self-acceptance, deepest joy in life, and really becoming who you came here to be. Because if you think about it, if I'm meeting you and I'm saying, hello, this is Krista, and there's 20 parts of me that are right behind me in my shadow that I've completely disowned, maybe my power, my humor, my fear, my abandonment, and I'm meeting you and I'm not showing you any of that, you're only going to get to access a very small part of me. You're only going to get to connect to one aspect of me. And that might be the good girl. That might be the charismatic one. Whatever that front is that I want you to perceive me as might be the only point that you could access if I've done no shadow work. And for a lot of women, it's the good girl. For a lot of men, it's, I don't know, bless them. Bless and release. I don't even know what they're, the strong one. I'm like, it's not even the strong one anymore. I think they're having a issue. They don't even know what their mask is right now at this point. But if I have all these aspects of me in my shadow and we're meeting, you're not going to get to know so much of me. But if I bring in and incorporate and get to know all of these shadow aspects, which is the truth of who I am, which is the multidimensionality, which is the wholeness of who I am, because I am both dark and light. We are all both dark and light. Then you get to know all of me. So we get to talk and I'm like, oh my God, yeah. And then I can be powerful. I can be like, hey, powerful part, let's rock. Hey, really funny part, like let's hang out. And then you get to know aspects of me, the depth of me, the richness of me, these multiple parts of me. And so shadow work creates intimacy in your relationships, in your life, and creates a magnetism, because imagine you keep pulling these parts out of the shadow. And then the shadow kind of gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Probably won't ever go away, but it's going to get smaller and smaller. And then your light just gets bigger and bigger and bigger because you've integrated these aspects into the wholeness of who you are. And you become more of who you came here to be. So again, it's the practice of turning towards the disowned aspects of us instead of rejecting them. It's about integration of these parts. It's about not fixing them. It's about not shaming them. And it's about integration. So in the process of me as the example with the AI girlinas, and I'm like, oh my God, these biddies are like, their looks are triggering me because they are fake. And I am afraid of not being beautiful and not being attractive. Instead of being mad at AI girlinas, which I can be because they're AI girlinas, I can turn to myself and go, what is that part of me that's so attached to looks? What is that part of me that's so afraid to not be seen as beautiful? What is that part of me that learned at a young age that beauty had to be in the room if she was going to be in the room? And how can I love that part and say, baby girl, I love you so much, even if you're not beautiful, even if you're not conventionally attractive, even if you're not young, even if you're not thin. That is the actual work. So using social media as the mirror, going with the trigger, and then going and doing your own work to integrate, to love, and to fix. Maybe you are someone that is deeply triggered by people that have, a lot of opinions online. Maybe you feel like you're mad because you can't control what they say and you don't like what they say and it bothers you. Maybe that's your opportunity to look a little bit closer at what is the aspect of me that feels like I'm not safe unless everyone thinks the same way I do? What is that aspect of me that feels like it's not safe to be around people that have different opinions as me? What is that aspect of me that feels like I need to have control over what everyone says and what everyone does? How can I remember that actually in this lifetime, I'm never going to be able to control what anyone says or what anyone does? And that people will absolutely have different opinions as me. That's a part of this process of being a human on earth, is people having a lot of different opinions. The important part of shadow work is not about fixing. It's not about shaming. It's not about integration. So for my little girl that says, I have to be beautiful to be in the room, I'm not like, oh, come on. This old thing, wah, 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 beauty, looks. We've done this whole rigmarole. No, I say, hey, I get it. I love you. I have compassion and I just want to know you. I want you to know that I'm here. I want you to know that I'm here. I hear you and I see you. I'm not shaming her. I'm not blaming her. I'm not mad at her for what she learned at a very young age. So thinking about for shadow work and working with social media, there's not fixing, there's not shaming, and there's integration of your parts. So if we think about, a deeper spiritual level of this process, especially in the context of social media, there's the idea of projection. And I love how Carl Jung thinks about projection. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. On social media, projection is constant. The whole app is almost based on projection. So if you're enraged by someone who's very confident, someone that's very expressed, there is a part of you that wants to be more expressed. There is a part of you that wants to be seen. And I think the greater your rage or your trigger on social media, especially about people being expressed, being seen, being heard, that means you have this part of you that knows you deserve to be seen, you deserve to be heard, you deserve to be on stages. I've seen this so often, and I remember so much of this in 2020 when so many people were like going after influencers and people with platforms to talk about stuff, to share about stuff, to promote stuff, et cetera. And it still happens all the time. And I get it. And it gives away so much of your own power. It gives away so much of your own power and your own voice and your own magic. And it basically says to the universe, I don't believe I have what it takes. I don't believe that people will listen. I don't believe that people care what I have to say. I have to tell this other person to say everything that I want them to say. And there's such a power in a belief of your voice and a belief of what you have to say and a belief in your magic. And so remembering that oftentimes we project what we desire. And so if you're triggered by someone's wealth, maybe someone's talking about their 6-figure day, maybe they're talking about their 8-figure, breakfast, whatever they're figuring, it might be your suppressed desire for abundance. Maybe you want money too. I think for me, there's always been a trigger about people making money easily. There's like a part of me from Midwest, Ohio roots that's like making money has to be hard. That I've worked with quite a bit. But when I see people that are like, oh yeah, I made, $50K in an hour by like posting this course. I'm like, what? I had to give my soul over during this client session and channel their dead ancestors and then, talk about how we could put that into a business plan. And I'm like, how could that be easy? And so I'm triggered by the fact I think that some people have it easy. And going and understanding this trigger is that I really want to know and have my life be easy. And how can I make it easier for myself? So going with what you are triggered by, if someone's confident, if someone's wealthy, if someone's, successful, if someone's expressed, whatever that is, looking at it in yourself, how is that an unconscious desire that you have? If you fear you are being judged, it is usually because you are harshly judging yourself. So often I work with people on putting themselves out there on expression, and they're like, I'm afraid I'm going to be judged. I'm afraid someone's going to judge me. I'm like, baby girl, you have 45 followers right now. I don't think anyone's going to judge you right now. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. Even if you have 1 million, you will judge yourself more than anyone else will online. And if they do judge you, it's usually a reflection of how you're judging yourself. An example, we went on this podcast a year ago or so, and we talked about dating and relationships. And, I said something, I don't even know. I was like, what did I say? I was like, men are something. And men, if you say men as a woman on the internet, you will have men pitchforking at your door. So I said men. And they heard me and they were mad. And so they started commenting and they're like going off and they're like, oh my God, you da-da-da-da. They could have been like, you are a dumb biatch. And I would have been like, okay, because I literally think I'm a genius. But if they're like, you're an old woman, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, they caught me. Like, I feel like I'm caught. I'm like, wait, what? How do you know my age? I'm like, how do you know I'm a woman? I just like go in. And so knowing and understanding that I am judging myself for my age, and then I will be judged externally for that too. I have no fear of being dumb. So anyone calling me dumb is never going to happen really, and wouldn't impact me. But because I have that trigger in me, that unconscious wound, that is going to happen consciously in my life. And before I made it conscious, it would be my fate, where I'd be like, oh my God, I'm too old. I'm all this stuff. So spiritually, from a spiritual perspective, projection is usually the ego's defense against self-confrontation. Projection is the ego's defense against self-confrontation. You guys, self-confrontation is the greatest skill that you could probably ever meet. Okay? So if we go to the example of you're enraged about the woman that is very confident online, your ego is like, oh my God, I'm not confident. Oh my God, I'm not confident online. I'm not putting myself out there. She's the problem. Yep, that's the problem. It's outside of me. It's not in here. Nope, nobody's home. Don't look at me. So your ego is so desperate to not be at fault, to be the victim, and to never be wrong. So it's looking outside of itself. So you are not having a self-confrontation moment of like, ooh, girl, I want to be seen. Social media is all about self-confrontation, you looking at yourself. What is my algorithm showing me? What are my friends showing me? What is this post showing me? How is this showing me about myself and my life and what I'm attracting and what I'm drawing in? There's also the law of attraction with social media. So in many spiritual traditions, especially with the law of attraction teaching, there's an idea that life mirrors your inner state. So my fear of being old was then brought into my reality with this viral clip of these men telling me I was old. Social media accelerated this opportunity for me of this mirror. So I had this inner state of I am old. I had the outer state of the mirror reflected back to me. The algorithm actually literally feeds what you engage with. So it's feeding you what you are engaging with consciously, but energetically, you're engaging most with what is unresolved within you. So you may keep seeing women who are speaking boldly and being confident because your voice is ready to be heard. You maybe keep seeing cancellation drama of people being canceled online because you're terrified of being exiled. This is a huge one. Oftentimes when I work with women on visibility and voice and being seen online, they're so afraid to be canceled. That's past lifetime stuff. That's, there's a lot there with spiritually speaking about past lives. But you're also just terrified of being exiled yourself. And so you will magnetize seeing other people be canceled. I had a moment with that where I was seeing tons of people be canceled, tons of cancellation content. And I would almost soothe my nervous system by seeing other people canceled because I was like, okay, maybe it's not me. Hopefully it's not me right now. But you might be terrified of being exiled because of that fact. And the way that you would work with that is to not exile yourself. Even if the world cancels me, I'm still going to love myself. I'm still going to be there for myself. I'm still going to honor myself. In a really powerful practice, if you have the fear of cancellation, is disengaging with any cancellation content. Do not consume any content where anyone is being canceled online. Not Reddit threads, not YouTube posts, not social media, even if it's like stuff where you think that's righteous cancellation, you think it should be in the news. Do not engage with cancellation content if you want to be seen and you want to be heard online. It's never going to help you. Because if you're engaging with cancellation content, you're looking at what is okay to say, what is not okay to say, what are people getting canceled for, how can I not do that, how can I figure out how to adjust myself so that I'm not canceled. So not only does it affect your expression, it also affects your psyche, it also affects your nervous system, and it also just puts you in a state where you're never going to be fully expressed in who you are. You maybe even keep seeing women with perfect bodies, with whatever body type you're like attracted to or drawn to. I mean, my booty game. I love my booty, but I want a really juicy booty. So for some reason, whenever I get on friggin' Instagram, I see these dump trucks and I'm like, I am actually drawing in this energy of seeing these women because when I go out in the world, I do not see this. And I am like, girl, okay, your sign is here. Love them, bless me. Bless their booties, bless my booty. How can I love and accept what I got going on? And how can I clear that so it's no longer showing to me mirrored by law of attraction by my Instagram? Your body story and how you relate to your body oftentimes can be such a place for healing with social media because there's so much opportunity for judgment about bodies and looks because we're looking at a screen. Being triggered and being activated and having your life mirrored back to you through social media is not a punishment. It's not a bad thing. It is an invitation for you to go in, for you to do some shadow work, for you to clear what is unresolved, and for you to become more integrated and wholly you. A Course in Miracles teaches that what you see out there is actually a projection of inner belief systems. This is a very deeply held spiritual teaching. This is biblical too. But what we see in the world in our dream state is actually a projection of our inner reality in our mind. So if you believe it is not safe to be visible, if you believe love is conditional, if you believe if I'm fully expressed, I'll be abandoned, then social media will become the stage where those beliefs get activated for you to look at them and for you to heal. The miracle is not about controlling the perception. It's not about changing who you are. It's not about contorting. It's not about finding the perfect filter. It's not about finding the perfect hook. It's not about finding the perfect lighting. is about choosing love over fear in the moment of activation. It is about being with yourself when you find yourself activated. It is about honoring and accepting the activation that you come with, not fixing it, not shaming it, but just honoring that part of you. And a lot of times our suffering comes from attachment to things and then also aversion. We can be, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment. And attachment looks like, us craving validation on social media, us wanting people to like our posts, to care about our posts. And then aversion also looks like avoiding our expression. So we're either posting and we want everyone to validate and like us, or we're not posting at all because we're scared that they won't. And shadow work is about both noticing the clinging or the suppressing. I had a girl that reshared one of my posts the other day and then made a post of her own because she was inspired by it. And she was like, I just posted my own post and no one's liked it yet or commented. And I was like, baby, you are either clinging to people liking it or you're suppressing yourself. It needs to be about you and what you want to say and what you came here to do and who you came here to be. It's about taking the hit of inspiration that you got from my page, alchemizing it into your own and creating something because you want to do it, not because of what everyone else is doing. You can post your phone and you can check your phone 17 times. That's an attachment wound. You can write something powerful and delete it. That's aversion. Both are teachers for us in this process. For many of us, social media can feel like a space where they have the deepest desire. They have the deepest want. They have the deepest yearning. And the shadow shows up as, what if they hate me? What if I'm wrong? What if I lose everything? And really the question we should be asking is, who are you if you don't live your truth? Who are you if you don't live your truth? Who are you if you don't become the person you came here to be? And there's this really beautiful element of authenticity and vulnerability in expression work where so often I'll have people that I work with, they'll say, I want to be seen, I want to be heard, I want to be more visible. And I'll say, okay, great, why? And a lot of times people don't really know. And they don't really connect with the why. They're kind of maybe unconsciously working from a little girl or a little boy in them that just wants to be seen in the world. Or they're working on the part of them that only feels good if they're feeling validated. And so that can be the drive. But there also is a deeper desire that we have. The truth of who we are is to fully be seen in our truest expression. And to do that externally, we have to first do that internally. To be seen and visible in the world, to express who we truly are, we have to bring so many parts of us, so many aspects of us from the shadow to the light, to work with, to be with, to integrate, to love. And then once those parts are loved, once those parts are conscious, that's when we can co-create a life of purpose and of meaning, because we've brought in the mystical part, we've brought in the spiritual part, we've brought in the part that's afraid, and we're like, hey girl, I know you're afraid, we're going to post anyway. It's because I want to do it. We want to do it. We're all good. Everyone's safe here. There's no one or nothing that will make me love myself or abandon myself. Nothing, especially on social media. Maybe you're afraid of posting something vulnerable. Maybe you went through a breakup. Maybe you had this big learning. Maybe you were an addict. Maybe you had a change of opinion. The shadow belief of that would say, if people see the real me, they'll withdraw more. If they disagree with me, they won't like me. If they find out I'm not perfect, I will be rejected. And the spiritual reframe in this case would be, visibility is an act of self-trust, and it's not a request for approval. So I'm doing this because I trust myself and I trust my story and my path, not because I'm trying to be seen. And I actually don't need people to approve of me, and I actually don't need people to say I'm good or bad after doing this. Maybe you're someone that judges influencers who self-promote. And maybe the shadow belief of that is taking up space is selfish. They're obsessed with themselves. They love taking up space. They just want to be seen. And the reframe here would be, expansion is not ego. Suppression is not humility. Because in this case, what you're doing is you're either saying their expansion or their ability to be themselves or put themselves out there is bad and it's ego. And then you're also saying on the other end that suppressing myself means I'm humble. No, I'm humble. I don't like to show off. That's not humility. You could be someone that obsesses over engagement, over people liking your stuff, over people commenting, over people, validating what you do online. You could have the belief that your worth is measured externally, that, it really matters how people perceive you or what they perceive about your worth. And the reframe for this is that your worth is intrinsic. You are naturally worthy outside of social media. And that metrics are actually neutral. Metrics don't mean anything. You could also believe that you might be canceled. You might say something or do something that's going to cause a controversy and they're going to come after you and you're going to be canceled. And maybe the belief here is that belonging is conditional, that people are going to eventually discard you. People are eventually going to get rid of you. People are going to eventually decide that there's something wrong with you and they want you to go. And the reframe would be that true belonging comes from self-allegiance first. So if you were ever part of a group or part of a friendship where you weren't in alignment with yourself, then you weren't really in alignment with that as a friend anyways. And, I like to bring in parts work with this. So when we're continuing to peel back the layer of how social media is shadow work, from a parts perspective, the shadow is really not evil. It's just the protective aspects of us. It's the part that wants to hide to protect us from shame. It's the part that over curates our feed to protect us from rejection. It's the part that wants to go viral, is keeping us from insignificance. And I just want to slow down on that one. It's the part of us that wants to go viral because it's protecting us from insignificance. So many of us have this deep wound of feeling insignificant, of feeling like we're not special. And so many of us have the belief that we are so deeply special. There's something special about us. And while there is something very special about you and something very special about me, there's also not. And that is the craziest thing because it's very hard for me to process that spiritually. A Course in Miracles talks all about that. Shadow work is really being self-led. So how am I doing something from the true authenticity of what I feel, what I want to say, what is coming through to me, what is like the deepest truth of this moment right now? It's calm, it's curious, it's compassionate. And if we were to move from this fear of putting ourselves out there, this fear of expression, this fear of being judged, this fear of being canceled. And, instead of thinking, why am I like this? Why can't I put myself out there? Why can't I get over this? It's asking what part is afraid of what will happen if you become fully expressed? What part of you is afraid if you put yourself out there? What will happen? What part is afraid of getting canceled? And the question really changes everything because you can work with parts and these aspects of your shadow, these aspects of your parts that are in your shadow, to support yourself in a deeper understanding of yourself and having more compassion for yourself. Because social media is not an enemy. It's really just this modern initiation portal to a deeper understanding of who we are and why we came here. And it really gives us this access point, this like supercharged way of loving ourselves more deeply because it confronts our ego. It confronts our attachment to our identity. It confronts our craving for approval. It also confronts our hunger to matter. If you use it unconsciously, it will amplify your insecurities. That's why social media has created so much mental health issues. That's why social media has been so hard on people's mental health for so long, especially teenagers and young people, because they don't have access to their prefrontal cortex or process or a more advanced level of processing and understanding. They are just using it and becoming more and more insecure. But if you can use social media consciously, it can really accelerate your self-awareness and accelerate your growth. Because the shadow and the shadow parts of us are not something to eliminate. They're something to be with. There's something to love. There's something to honor. There's something to accept. And they're also something to integrate within you so that your light does not become fragile. And bringing in as a second part of this, talking about the nervous system. There is an important aspect of visibility that relates to the nervous system. And as someone that is visible online, there is very much a regulation piece, a safety piece, a part of you that has to be regulated in your nervous system to be more visible. From a general activation perspective, if you have the fear of being canceled, of being exiled, of being abandoned because of something that's happening online, your nervous system will still register that as I'm being kicked out of the tribe, I'm being left behind, I'm going to die. And so the same type of response that would happen in the caveman days is still happening to our nervous system in the same experience. Our body usually reacts before our brain does. And posting online for some reason can often feel like we're stepping on stage in front of thousands of people. And for a lot of us, it could be thousands of people. For a lot of us, it could be 4 people. But that feeling of our nervous system having that same response and fear can be activated in both situations and scenarios. And so we can have the fear of expression. We can have the fear of being misunderstood, of being too much, of not being enough, of being canceled. And this is the tribal fear of our nervous system, which is wired for belonging. We are wired to connect. We are wired to belong. And being canceled unconsciously feels like we're going to be exiled. Being rejected, someone commenting on something makes us feel like we're going to be kicked out of the tribe. If no one likes it, it makes us feel like we're going to disappear. And so when you don't post, or when you shrink, or when you soften your truth, you have to ask, what are you protecting yourself from? Rejection, loss of approval, maybe identity. And I think a really beautiful process is to be posting as much as you can from a regulated nervous system state. And if you find yourself triggered or activated, going from the nervous system level first, of regulating your body, of relaxing into the softness of who you are, of coming back home to yourself, back home to this reality, before you do anything else. For many of us, we spend 6 to 12 hours on our phones every day, so much time now. And so our nervous system is really regulating with the phone. It's either regulating in a parasympathetic way or an activated way. And so when we kind of break that space and we can create a regulation within ourselves, with nature, with our pets, with our partners, we can co-regulate with people. We can approach social media from such a safer place, and we won't have the part of us be super activated. And from a psycho-spiritual level, when we're posting online, we can feel the psychic eyes on us. We can feel, in Kabbalah, they would call it evil eye. You can feel sometimes the evil eye psychically, especially if you're someone that's deeply sensitive, deeply intuitive, a deep feeler. You might feel the projections and perceptions of other people. And so some of this work, if we were to, you and I were to work one-on-one from like a 301 level, we would do a lot of work on spiritual protection and spiritual boundaries and spiritual hygiene around being visible on the internet. Because the internet is a portal. It is a place for projection. It is a place for fantasy. It is a place for illusion. And that illusions could come into our reality, can really affect us and impact us. And so also having really good spiritual hygiene can be as important as having your nervous system hygiene. I could go on forever about that one, but, we'll keep that there. Social media is also, as the third part to this, a shadow portal. So for all of us, instead of avoiding these social media triggers, we can use them, using these triggers for our growth, for our expansion. So maybe you're afraid to post your opinion and your shadow is saying, I equate disagreement with abandonment. What you could do would be to say a opinion. What you could do to support yourself in this process of healing to become more visible and become more authentic is to microdose these things that are supporting your shadow and being more visible. So the microdose would be, if I'm afraid of sharing my opinion online, would be to come on a story, maybe practice just recording myself sharing a bold opinion. And maybe I don't share it yet, but maybe I just get comfortable in my body and comfortable in my voice with saying something that feels charged to a phone. And maybe the second part of that microdose is to do it again the next day, where you just kind of activate my nervous system and regulate myself, remind myself that I'm safe to speak my truth. Maybe the next day you send it to a friend and say, hey, I did this thing, would love your support. Maybe then you get the comfort and confidence to share something a little bit more bold, but maybe not a 10 out of 10 online. So in the process of becoming more visible and expressed, there's the option, and the takeaway you have as another part of your homework is to do microdoses. Okay. We're going to do microdoses of visibility, microdoses of nervous system activation, microdoses of expression, so that you can really feel into the activation in your nervous system and the overcome of that, so you can be more expressed. Because with the nervous system and with the microdosing, you cannot shame yourself into visibility. If there's a part of you that is afraid, that part needs safety, not force. And shadow work is not forcing yourself to post more. Shadow work is not becoming louder overnight. Shadow work is listening to the scared part of you, listening to the ambitious part of you, and listening to the part of you that wants to be fully expressed, all with love and all with reverence. It's becoming the self-leader, the you that's so powerful, and holding all of these truths, and then becoming the woman that can listen to all of these parts and then speak what is the deepest truth in her. Because what if social media isn't necessarily the problem here? What if it's a mirror for us asking, can you love yourself even if you're misunderstood? Can you love yourself even if you're not validated? Can you love yourself when someone projects on you? Can you love yourself when you take up space? Because that is truly the real work here with social media, is loving yourself even if. Social media will amplify whatever is unresolved in you. But it will also amplify your growth if you let it. If you use it consciously, it becomes your practice in self-trust, expression, embodiment, and unconditional self-acceptance. Because the goal isn't to win the algorithm or go viral all the time. It's to become the kind of person who can stay rooted in who you are while you're being seen. And using this tool as a portal for your deepest expression and transformation and most vibrant life. Because there's a few questions you guys can ask as your homework. I know I've dropped a few homework notes, so I hope you're taking notes here. What is my biggest fear about being visible? What voice do I hear in my head when I'm about to post? What do I judge most online? If I could be fully expressed online, what would that look like? And when we can sit with those, we can really understand ourselves so much more deeply. We can love ourselves more deeply, and we can become that fully expressed version of who we are. A lot of this work with expression, a lot of this work with the voice, a lot of this work for personal brands, for people that want to be teachers, leaders, facilitators, people that want to be seen for the truth of who they are, is the work that I do with women. I'm going to be doing a 2-day immersion actually in Chicago called Fully Expressed. And this is all voice visibility work. This is you being in your visibility and your voice. I work with women that are mostly on the edge of breakthrough, going through times of deep transformation, not quite sure what's on the other side, not quite sure where they're going. And women that are often very sensitive and that have let everyone else take the stage, let everyone else go first, let everyone else be big and shiny and been in the background, and are ready to be seen. So if you feel like that is you, if you feel like you're ready to take all the shadow work that social media has been showing you, and you are ready to be in your fullest, most embodied expression that is so unique to you and become who you truly came here to be, Fully Expressed is the perfect opportunity. It's a 1-day immersion happening in Chicago, June 27th. And on the 28th, I have a VIP day for people that have brands and businesses. So this is someone that wants to be a public figure, that wants to be a podcast host, a influencer, a teacher, a leader, or an entrepreneur that is public and visible. So that's really deep dive work, very limited spots for that. All that information is at my website. It's Krista.com. So it's ITSKRISTA.com. And I would love to have you at that. It's going to be incredible. The women leave crying, happy, excited, free, liberated in ways that they never even saw coming. I've been working with so many of those women ever since, and I've seen their accounts go viral. I've seen them double their income. I've seen them attract men that fully see them. I've seen them just literally blossom and explode into the women that they came here to be, because this can be so powerful. So I hope you liked this episode. Send it to a friend. I definitely highly suggest you guys kind of work on this together. You can even have a conversation about this. You can have a night where you work on this together. I love to be sent in the DMs, hey, be visible, show it off. I love you guys so much. You can find me on Instagram at It's Krista. It's ITSKRISTA. Almost 30 podcast is the podcast. Almost30.com. We're also on YouTube. You can watch the whole video on YouTube. I would love to see you. Almost 30 podcast on TikTok. We have tons of TikToks that don't make the Instagram, so I would definitely go there. And then Morning Microdose is our second show. It's like the greatest hits of Almost 30. It's like 5 to 10 minutes of just the juice of the pod. So I will see you on the next one. I hope you enjoyed. I will talk to you later. Love you. Bye.